welcome to my channel. It has been a minute, and as you can tell, well, you might be able to guess why, actually. If you're not on any of my socials except for YouTube, or you only clock into my videos every now and then, I haven't posted anything since halfway through the middle of April, because halfway through Vida, I managed to completely mess it up and I got my timings wrong and I couldn't edit stuff. So I then just gave myself a week off. And then I got an eye infection and couldn't record anything, could barely read, had a really hard time. And then was like, okay, to take a break from that, I'm going to do mood read May. I'm not going to do any TBR. We're just going to mood read our way through May. And then I got tonsillitis. And as you can hear, it has royally messed up my voice. I sound like I smoke back-to-back cigarettes. I sound awful, but I feel much better than I have for the last 3 weeks, where life has generally been pretty rubbish. I've never had tonsillitis before. I got it really badly. I was bedridden for 2 weeks. I rolled over, I coughed, my throat was sore. Oh God, it was awful. It was awful. Feel sorry for me. But I basically just read my way through 𝚘𝚘-𝚆𝚒𝚘𝚎. That's what I did in May. I left the house once before I got ill, had a really nice time, and then after that, it has been comfort reads the whole time. So I'm ready to be back on my bullshit, and that means doing another after hours TBR where I use the virtual game that my brother made for me to help pick books to read for the following month. Now, because I don't feel great, I don't feel 100%, but I definitely feel better, I'm not doing any readathons. I don't have it in me to do any readathons for June, but I do want to kind of mix up my reading and do something, and I think I miss having a TBR. So we're TBRing it for June. There are 2 books that I have to read in June. One is the Patreon pick, which I will share with you this time. I don't usually share them, but I am going to share it this time in case you're interested in joining the Patreon, because you're in with a chance to win a copy as part of a giveaway. And the other book is part of Gothic along, which I will also get to. But for now, here is me playing the game and picking my prompts, and then I'll show you what I picked to read. Okay, I haven't played this game in 100 years, so let's see if I still know how to do it. I don't want non-fiction. I never want non-fiction. I'll take a fantasy. Oh, you know what? I will. I will take one. I don't want contemporary. I've already got non-fiction. I just want to do a speedrun. I don't have any specifics that I'm reading for this month. No readathons or anything. I know there are readathons on. I'm just not partaking. I'm still not particularly well. Let's do non-fiction. Obviously gonna have to have a thriller horror in there, love that. But yeah, I don't have any particulars that I'm aiming for. I just kind of want to get as many prompts as possible done so I can get back on reading properly. So I did read quite a bit whilst I had tonsillitis. God, that was going for middle grade. I never pick middle grades normally. Oh no, it's closing in already. I can see it. It's starting to get darker. Yeah, I don't normally worry about doing a speed run. But I read, okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I read a lot whilst I was ill. As you can hear, I'm still ill. But I mainly read 𝚘𝚘-𝚆𝚒𝚘𝚎. So I might just put 𝚘𝚘-𝚆𝚒𝚘𝚎 back on my TBR. Come on, I can get to another room. I can do it. I believe in myself. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Where's this room? Where's the... I didn't. I really thought I could make it. Okay, so they've generated the exact same one by the looks of things. So let's go in a completely different direction. I'd like to have a romance on there if possible. I've already got a couple of fantasies and thrillers, I think. It's very contemporary, middle grade. I've got a couple of those, I think, now. Come on, Leprechauns. The one thing that I have managed to do, and I'm genuinely amazed at myself, is I've managed to read every Patreon book that we've picked thus far. And I'm usually terrible at book clubs. I don't know if it's the pressure of knowing that people have paid for my opinion on this one that is got me doing it, but I'm all up in it. Okay, I see a different colour. I think that's historical fiction. Okay. Well, I didn't mean to grab that, but I'm not mad about it. I just want a romance. Give me a romance. Why are so many of these rooms empty? Come on. Here it is. Found it. Okay, come on. Let's get there. Come on, before the thing times out. Come on, we can do it. We can do it. I believe in us. I believe in us. There we go. There we go. So, fantasy or sci-fi favourite author? Thank you, TBR gods. What a great prompt. Non-fiction chosen by a friend. Again, what a great prompt. Historical fiction, green cover. A steamy thriller mystery. Interesting. Thriller mystery with no "the" in the title. Now, I misread this last time, and I thought it was just one with "the" in the title, but a mystery thriller with no "the" in the title. Middle grade feed scroll. Okay, I don't know many people who read middle grades and like actively promote it anymore. So I think Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe has read some middle grades recently, or has promoted some middle grades recently. So I'll probably check their feed out first, because I certainly don't follow any on TikTok. But I will go straight to Olivia's channel and see and find out. Fantasy sci-fi underrated author. Cool. Middle grade set in winter. Actually, I don't mind that, because even though we're going into summer, it's been drizzly. And obviously, having had a flu and tonsillitis, I'm kind of over it. I don't know what undefined is. I think that is a technical error from where there was no prompt selected. I'm going to take it as I can just read whatever I want, thriller mystery wise. And then a romance with no "the" in the title as well. It's a fair mix. It's a fair mix. So I'm going to go pick those books, and then I'll let you know what I've chosen for my TBR. So, if you can believe it, we are officially at the end of Ggothic-a-Long. We have 1 month left of Ggothic-a-Long, which, if you're coming at it at the tail end and don't know what it is, essentially, we've been reading every single book by 𝚈𝚐𝚘𝚎 𝚆𝚏, and we only have Signal to Noise left. I didn't include her lover's story. It was a short story, it's only a few pages long, and I didn't massively love it. And I can't include The Seventh Veil of Salome yet, because it's not out for a few more months. But chances are, when it's out, we will add that. But for now, this is the last one. I don't know anything about this. I don't know if this is going to be her most modern. It looks like it's going to be about me. Oh, it's set in 1988. So actually, yeah. I think this is, other than maybe Certain Dark Things, is her most modern set one. Now, I've had real ups and downs with her modern books, but we'll see. 𝚈𝚐𝚎 𝚆𝚏 is an auto-buy author for me. A book comes out from her, I buy it straight away. I adored Mexican Gothic. The Beautiful Ones is still my favourite. They're just incredible. She's an incredible writer. Latinx and Canadian author. Beautiful mythology. 10 out of 10 would recommend. But I had all of her books and I'd only read like 3 of them. So we decided to do the read-along so I could read the rest. I'm now down to my last one and I don't know what to do with myself. She's still an auto-buy author for me, but there are certain things now that I've noticed in her writing that I don't like, and other things that I just adore. So it's really interesting to kind of have that kind of like reflection on it. All the live shows are still available on my channel. So if you want to go back and read any of them, I'm going to put them in a playlist for you so you could go back and read. And if you pick up any 𝚈𝚐𝚎 𝚆𝚏 and you want to know what my thoughts were, or you want to leave a comment with your thoughts, I'd really appreciate it. So go and check those out. And then I'm not going to be giving out this copy. If you're a patron of mine through the Ladder M Gothic Quarter, if you are of a certain tier and higher, I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is. It's not Rush's Attic, it's the one after that, which I think is Frankenstein's Laboratory. You get a free copy of the book we're reading, as well as the matching bookmark. Now, I don't get myself a copy of the books if I've already got one, and I already had The Haunting of Hill House. Now, I also make sure that it's by poll, so you guys get to choose which book we read. So my patrons have decided that we are reading Haunted Houses this month, and I love that. There's a whole bingo board that goes with it, which again, you have to be a patron to enjoy. But if you're really into like Gothic reads and you want to read some classics and some modern Gothics, and you'd like to be in with a chance to win a copy, you don't actually have to be on one of those higher tiers to get a copy. You can actually win a chance to get a copy by entering at a lower rank. So all you've got to do is pay £3 a month, you get a free book. It's like a pretty good deal to me. Have I read this before? No. Has it been sat on my TBR for ages? Yes. Yes. So thank you to my patrons for finally forcing me to read it. That's another video that I had every intention of doing for April. I can't believe I'm now 5 months into having a Patreon and I still haven't done a video explaining my Patreon to you. I need to be better at doing this, honestly. So let's get on to my actual TBR now. The rest of my TBR. Those two I have to read. These are the ones I'd like to read this month. So we'll start at the bottom of the list and work our way back up, because that's how I have the book stacked. We're going with romance with no "the" in the title. I did have quite a few romances on my shelves, but a lot of them had "the," or they were part of a bigger project, or I've set them aside because I want to do them for a bigger project. So I'm going to be picking up Reputation. Obviously, everyone is in their peak Bridgerton era, either rewatching or doing their commentaries or just binge watching season 3. And I get it. I get it. I really enjoy Bridgerton. I love how stylized it is. I love how every time they add a level of representation, I love the way they're kind of crafted across really interesting political topics, and they are developing all the time because it is a very modern show. Love all of that. Love the idea that I get to now have a little taster of something LGBT and Bridgerton. And this is compared to both Bridgerton and Fleabag. This is by an author called 𝚑𝚑𝚎, who is a YouTuber that I have watched for years, and they've done all kinds of Jane Austen content before. So I have every faith that I'm going to adore this. I even bought the sequel 𝚈𝚑𝚘, but I have not yet bought 𝚕𝚎𝚎, which is the most recent one, purely because I haven't read these two yet, and I'm trying to do a thing where I stop buying sequels to books I haven't read yet. So I'm really, really excited to get to Reputation, and I would not be surprised if I prioritise this as one of the first books I read this month. Then I got thriller undefined because my game glitched a little bit, and I've gone with Tiffany D. Jackson's The Weight of Blood. The story of this very much reminds me of Carrie, because it's going to be set around prom and bullying, except this one is obviously looking at racism and whitewashing, things like that. I get the impression there is going to be a Carrie type moment towards the end, and I've been meaning to get to this for ages. Because I don't know much about it, it hasn't really ticked off any other thriller prompts previously or horror prompts previously, so I feel like now's the right time to get to it. I'm a little worried that it's going to be a vampire novel, because I haven't been vibing with vampires recently. It just hasn't been a thing for me, but I'm hoping this is just a classic contemporary mystery thriller with horror tropes. That should be fun. Then you had fantasy sci-fi underrated author, and I've gone for Godslayers by Zoe Hanamakuta. When Gearbreakers came out, everyone was talking about it. Everyone really, really enjoyed Gearbreakers. I've not seen anyone talking about Godslayers, which is the second half of that duology. I really liked that this was a real kind of genuine enemies to friends to lovers type narrative, and now that we're back in this really dystopic world and brainwashing and all sorts of things, I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. I also like the fact that in the first one the characters have very much their own ideals which they go through, and I think the way that's done, the way it looks at politics through a BIPOC lens, is really important in sci-fi and fantasy anyway, and I feel like we should be championing more Asian books in sci-fi, etc. So in that way I think they're underrated, and that is why I've gone for this one. Plus, who doesn't love ticking off a series? So there we go. We're going to tick off another series this month. Admittedly, I'm starting a series, but I'm also finishing a series. Now, mistakes were made because I said when I was doing the video that I wasn't sure. I don't really follow middle grade content creators. The only content creator I followed that like actively talks about middle grade on a regular basis was Gavin, and I know that Jade obviously talks about middle grades quite a lot, but I don't watch a lot of their content, and my friend Faye also talks about a lot about middle grade, but I don't know if I couldn't find Faye's TikTok, so I was like, that's fine, I'll go with Olivia. Like when I was discussing it, I was like, I'll go with Olivia because I know Olivia has a TikTok and I know they talk about a variety of books, and I was convinced they had talked about a middle grade recently. That was on their Instagram. It wasn't on their TikTok. Their most recent TikTok that I could see straight out had a middle grade on it was Christmasaurus. So I'm reading Christmasaurus in June. And then the other middle grade was a wintry middle grade, and I don't have any. So I'm going to read Christmasaurus 2. And then I'm going to read Christmasaurus 3, and I'm going to vlog it. And you're not going to see that vlog until Christmas. Because why would I talk about a Christmas book in June? That's insanity. I'm reading about Christmas in June. And I only have myself to blame. But I also want to blame Olivia. So thanks, Olivia. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. We also had non-fiction chosen by a friend. Now, I shared a photo in the Total Bollocks group chat, because we still have the group chat even though we don't have the book club anymore, and said, here's all of my non-fictions. Which ones do you think I should choose? Now, I'm really glad I did that, because Abby from Abbey of Pelennor spotted that there was a TERF book in that list and I didn't know, so immediately unhauled that one. And Celine then questioned whether Divine Might is a non-fiction, and according to Goodreads it is, and I think it will be, because I think it's going to be like Pandora's Jar in the fact that it's a commentary and retelling of the myths rather than just a straight fictional retelling of fictional myths, etc. Hannah Ryan from Bookworm's Feast also was very keen for me to read this, and then when I posted that photo on Instagram, Olivia also jumped on and said I should read this. So it got quite a few votes. Unfortunately, Abby did also say they wanted me to read unlikely female characters, but by that point they were already outnumbered and I'd kind of already written that this was the one that I was going to read. So I'm very, very sorry, Abby, but thank you to everyone else who voted for Divine Might. I have TBR'd this once already. Hopefully I'll have better luck with it this time. Then I had to choose a steamy thriller mystery, and looking at my shelves I didn't think I had any, and I was right. I don't have any paperbacks or hardback steamy thrillers. What I do have is the audiobook of Pretty Reckless by LJ Shen, which according to Goodreads is both steamy and a thriller. It also looks terrifying. I don't know why I bought this. I don't know. But it's on my Audible. So I've clearly spent money on it. It's there. I might as well read it. Am I excited about the prospect? Absolutely not. Am I terrified? Yes. Absolutely. One, because it's another series and the series is massive, and two, like, the whole dramatic romance, dark, spooky thriller mystery combos that the TikTok girlies adore. I've never been brave enough to dip my toe, to be honest, but now's the time apparently. So yeah, Pretty Reckless by LJ Shen. Terrifying. Back to my comfort zone, I needed a thriller / mystery that didn't have "the" in the title. So I am returning to Angela Booley's Firekeeper's Daughter world, following the same main character, Perry Firekeeper Birch, as she tries to return the remains of Warrior Girl, who is an ancestor of her clan, back to its rightful place. Yeah, I'm really, really excited about this one. I loved Firekeeper's Daughter, and I'm really, really excited to not only return to that world and character, but to see again how those political conversations come up in a contemporary mystery. I think it's going to be really, really fun, and no "the" in the title. Another one that I fully intend on prioritising. For historical fiction green cover, I have got The Marriage Portrait, as the main background is green, although there's a lot of other stuff on it. This is based around the same portrait that My Last Duchess by, what's his name? Robert Browning? Is it the Browning? I feel like it's Robert Browning poem, which is about Duke Ferrara, who murders his wife. Or it's alleged that he murders his wife, but he has a portrait of her hanging up. And in the poem, Duke Ferrara is talking to the servant of someone who's kind of come in, is kind of like the messenger, and is basically showing off his stuff and showing off how, like, this is the bride he had, she smiled too much and she flirted with people and he had her off. This is either about the process of the portrait being painted and her life surrounding it, or leading up to it, I think. So I'm really, really intrigued by this. I really liked Maggie O'Farrell's writing in Hamnet. I know it can be really slow, and I've heard this one is much slower and it just hasn't been as well received as Hamnet was, but I'm still really excited for it, and I'm happy that it ticked the prompt. And then finally, what will inevitably be the easiest read of my entire month, I needed a favourite author for science fiction or fantasy, and I've gone for Fire Study by Maria V. Snyder. Now, this will be a reread for me. I adore this series. And I had every intention of rereading them because I gifted myself these swanky hardcovers that I wanted to reread, and Ali has toyed with doing a read along of this a couple of times, but for whatever reason it hasn't really come through. So I've started the series several times and I thought I might as well just continue at this point. So I'm just going to continue on my own and read Fire Study. This is about a young woman called Yelena who essentially in the first book discovers that she has magic, and magic is treated very poorly. She's in a world where magic is illegal, and she starts working for the general's lead assassin as a poison taster for the general's food, because she's basically, it's her reprieve from being in prison. And you find out why she was in prison and what happened to her and what's happened to magic, and she starts learning magic from magicians, etc. in book 2. So it's a really, really interesting series. I really like the world building in this, but it's also the easiest book to read. I remember once I went to my dad's office because we were going to go for lunch. We'd like done something in the morning. He had to work for a couple of hours, so I was like, cool, I'll take a book, and I burnt through like 180 pages. I think it probably was of Magic Study book 2. And the girls in the office were like, that's insanity. And I'm like, no, it's just that that's how easy the book is to read. So if you want like an entry-level fantasy series, Poison Study is the place to be. It's such a good series and has such surprising ahead of its time rep. Absolutely would recommend. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to get to Fire Study. So there we go, a really eclectic mix for my June TBR. I'm not mad about it except for Christmasaurus, and really I can only blame myself for that one. If I had more wintry middle grades on my shelves, wouldn't be an issue, but I don't. So that needs rectifying. Let me know in the comments down below, where do you think I should start? Obviously I have priorities, but that doesn't mean that's actually where I'm going to start. And let me also know in the comments down below where you're starting with your TBR. Are you doing any readathons this month, and which ones are you most looking forward to? If you just want to let me know you are here, feel free to leave a little flame emoji down in the comments. Treat yourself to something from Waypoint because it supports me and my content, and we will be having a summer hardback sale towards the end of June. So bear that in mind. Keep an eye out for that. Check out all the links down below because I have a Patreon now, and as you've seen, you can win free copies of books on that Patreon. You don't want to miss out. And most importantly, have a nice day, and I hope I don't get the flu again.